Welcome to Rapid Fire. Today's game is
InfeZtation was released on the Commodore 64 at the end of November 2024. Another game from the very talented Australian coder Monte Boyd, who's given us exclusive gems on the system in the last few years, like the great racing game Muddy Races and the excellent arcade action of Knights and Slimes. Monte is also joining us today to tell us some of the behind-the-scenes info about his latest action run-and-gun platformer, but I'll let him introduce himself.
Hi, I'm Monte Boyd. By day, I'm a UX designer for a bank. By night, I'm a C64 game programmer, designer, and pixel artist.
InfeZtation puts you in the role of the Galactic Sheriff, as she gets a call to investigate a mysterious space station that's gone haywire. You and your robot companion, who acts as your comm links throughout the game, enter the station to try and solve the mystery. I first asked Monte how long he has been actually working on this game for.
I think all up it was around 2.5 years, but that's working on it between other projects before it became my main focus.
Gameplay is a mix of a lot of aspects. For the most part, it's an action platformer, but it also has elements of run-and-gun gameplay and even doses of strategy. As you start exploring the station and its big 36 levels, you'll mostly be blasting alien and robot scumbags away with your massive gun. Kill a certain amount of enemies in an area and a door will unlock and you'll be able to move on to the next area. There's no finding multicolored passkey nonsense here. Your battle suit makes it possible to do multiple other things as well, which are basically power-ups. Collect as many of the yellow powered crystals as possible to build up your bar at the bottom right of the screen. This will determine how long you'll be able to use your special for. Collecting a certain colored item box will trigger the special, which can, for one, power up your suit, making it possible to kill enemies with single punches. Enable a powered jetpack, allowing you to fly around the levels, taking out enemies. Speed boosts, which come in handy with clusters of enemies. Screen killing bombs that take care of business, and the ability to transform into a killing star like in Turrican and massacre as much as possible or run over whoever gets in your way. Every main area of the ship, which there are 3 of, throws a bunch of extra little gameplay nuggets into the mix as well. For example, the anti-gravitation is knocked out in an area, allowing you to float around the levels and changes the action bit quite a lot. There's toxic chemicals to avoid, one-way style elevators, which require some planning when taking out foes, lights that can be knocked off, and all the enemies have their own personalities, so learning that will help you trap them and kill them quickly. I really like the fact that each enemy, including the 3 big boss characters of the game, all have their own energy bars, never leaving you scratching your head and wondering if your bullets are actually doing any sort of damage or not. There's also a decent amount of strategy with the level design and how you want to coax your enemies into a certain area to unleash death on them without getting hit. I asked Monte if there were any inspiration games behind InfeZation's creation choices.
I've always wanted to make a scrolling platform game, and it's pretty easy to see that Turrican was an inspiration, but the exact gameplay style did change a bit during production. It started more as a Metroidvania, but ended up more of an arcade-style game.
The graphics style feels very unique, not something you can casually say about a 40-plus-year-old computer. It mixes in high-res visuals with very small, detailed pixel graphics, all animated exceptionally. Every major area has its own look and style with very metallic space station vibes, but slowly changing to move to more organic designs the further you investigate the station and the plot unfolds. Your robot sidekick helps with story and setup for each area, giving you info on new gameplay elements and progression throughout the station, which is something usually missing from this style of game, plus full screen splash intros, a nifty intro to the game and ending, which all add a lot of production value to the overall look and vibe. I asked Monte how easy it is to make C64 games now with all the modern tools available.
I wouldn't necessarily say it's easy, but without modern tools there's no way I would be able to make C64 games. From pixel art applications to coding tools and online tutorials and help, there's never been a better time to be a C64 developer.
We interrupt our program to bring you this important message.
Power up!
The game's sound design by Monte as well is pretty great. It's got a lot of atmospheric Soul Cross style tunes with dark mysterious overtones that propel the story and action along and get really hyped up during all 3 of the major boss fights during the game, with a good mix of satisfying sound effects as well, which are played at the same time with an option to turn off the music if you so desire. I asked Monte if there was any major hurdles programming wise he had to overcome to deliver the game to the C64.
This was my first time writing a scrolling game, so that was a big challenge. I found tutorials on the web that really helped me getting the scrolling working, but that didn't help with things like the player and enemies, music and sound effects all happening at the same time. So that was a big technical challenge. Wasn't so much an issue, but just really pushed me as a coder.
Overall, InfeZtation is another new wave C64 gem to add to the Breadbox's impressive exclusive library. The action is both satisfying and strategic, with a great story and lots of atmosphere, and is very easy to pick up and play, almost like an old arcade game. Plus, with the passwords that are given out after completing every stage, you never have to redo everything all over again, and helps make playing it in small bursts much more enjoyable. Currently, it's a PAL format only game, but Monte says he'll be working on an NTSC version soon, so keep a lookout for that, and I'll leave links to his itch page for the digital download. And with that, I'll leave Monte with the final words as I asked him what is the drive to make C64 games still in the modern age.
For me, the challenge of the C64 restrictions really allow me to be creative. I love pushing the graphics so that it almost looks like it could pass for a 16-bit machine, but it's also the community support. I used to make games for iPhones and it was so hard to get noticed and get any engagement. The C64 community is so appreciative of new games, and sharing progress videos and chatting with people really helps to keep the motivation going.